first of the 3 races from Milan to San Remo? Well, it was on Saturday, March the 21st, 1992. The 83rd edition, starting from Milan, heading down to San Remo, 294 kilometres. The longest of all of the single-day classics, and not just opening the Italian cycling season, of course, it is opening the whole of the world of classic racing for the year. As always, the biggest field of the classic season, and the riders crossing the caps of the Passo Torcino after 144 kilometres, the Capo Mele at 243 kilometres, the Capo Servo at 248, the Capo Berta at 256, and the last 2 climbs, the Suppressor and the Poggio coming just 4 kilometres from the end. Looking down on the peloton now, and we're looking down on them as they start the climb of the Capo Berta. And as always, it's been a long, swift ride coming down in warm and sunny weather since we left Milan, although it's becoming overcast now. And this, the biggest ever World Cup field of 219 riders, although they're not all still in the race, but most of them surely are. We've had a long breakaway by Fabrizio Convalli, but he's having got a lead of 21 minutes and 50 seconds at one point. He's now back in the field and probably in the sag wagon if we knew the truth. This is in fact Jesper Skibby who's going clear. These last few hills towards the end now, the riders are trying their luck, and Skibby, one of the great cyclists from Denmark, his father was Willy Skibby, who took part in the World Championships in 1966. None of these climbs are severe, but they do offer the opportunity to break the tight grip so traditional in Milan San Remo. And that in fact is Furlan, Giorgio Furlan, who's trying to get away here for the Ariostia team. That's the team in which Moreno Argentin is very much a rider. And the speed, he's gone clear here. Good sign too. He might have a few teammates trying to block for him. He's trying to get across to Jesper Skibby, and a Tulip rider has gone after him. There's Skibby, the tall legs of this very jovial man from Denmark. Always good for a joke and a jest when he's not seriously racing on the Dutch TVM team. Beautiful roads here. This is one of the most picturesque of all of the classic races. It runs right down the coast of Italy once it turns onto the coast at Voltri after the Torcino Pass, and then follows the Tyrrhenian Sea all the way through to its finish in San Remo. On the descent now, the Capo del Berta. Jim van der Leer is the rider from Tulip alongside. They're trying to pull back Jesper Skibby. 3 will go better than 1 right now, because at this stage of the race the field are not very far behind at all. And Skibby turned professional back in 1986. Had a reasonably successful career as a Danish amateur rider. He rode in the team time trial in the World Championships in 1985 and then turned pro. Into the little town of Oneglia. And this means that we are now 35 kilometres from the finish, about 22 miles. These beautiful Italian towns, old buildings, very much reminiscent of days gone by from Roman times. And Skibby now searching his way through the streets, looking extremely good at the moment. But I'll tell you what, he'll have to go well to hold off the chasing pack at this stage of the race. As we look down the street though, he still has a gap there. The 2 riders could be seen in the distance that are chasing him, Jim van der Leer from the Tulip team, and alongside him Giorgio Furlan. And Furlan's the danger man if he gets up here. I'm not too sure Skibby will have a lot of support from his TVM team back in that break, back in the main field, quite honestly. Skibby trying to keep out of sight of the chasers, hugging the right-hand side of the road. And they're the 2 chasers now, led by Furlan, who will feel he's got the Italian support he requires on home soil. The Italians prolifically like to win their own event. Gianni Bugno won it back in 1990 in record speed. And that really was the renaissance of Italian cycling. Since then they've gone from strength to strength. Claudio Chiappucci, rare classic victory for him in 1991. Moto 2 signifying we've moved back to the chasers. And Jim van der Leer flying the flag for the Tulip team. Well, Skibby's going to give this his best shot, I think, but he could do with some help. The next stop for us will be on the climb of the Suppressor. That comes at 273 kilometers. Empty roads ahead. Well, doesn't Giorgio Furlan in this particular shot, he looks rather like Moreno Argentin, similar style, sunglasses, short curly hair. There's the main pack. What a beautiful sight that is as it threads through the streets here. Gutter to gutter. And still a lot of riders prepared to work, and in fact they're catapulting off the front of the group there. There's a PDM rider gone, and the protection for the Tulip team in second place. We draw away, we get a good view here of the sea, and shortly we're going to get an even better view of the climb of the Suppressor. Skibby still going, could do with a little bit of help. Maybe 3 or 4 riders will be all he would need. He does have a good sprint finish if he gets the chance to use it. No Danish rider has ever won Milan-San Remo. Attila Nydam from the Buckler team, and prepared to share the work with him is de Coulinar, one of the top domestiques on the team, and trying to get involved there in a little bit of the disruption is Rudy Rogier from the Tulip team. He's there to try and break it up, of course, because Jim van der Leer is in the breakaway chasing Jesper Skibby. Once again, a little bit of picture breakup is due to the proximity of the houses and the microwave links and the motorbikes up to the helicopter. Well, I'll say this for Jesper, he's really riding like a powerhouse now, concentrating. We're onto the lower rungs of the Suppressor climb. But the pressure on behind now. De Coulinar, Jelle Nydam going through. Quite clearly, they're anxious now to try and get the riders up there. Frans Massen's up there. Erik van der Aarden is here. So the Buckler team trying to get a result out of this race now, and I'm afraid they've already swept up Jim van der Leer, because that's Skibby, and Nydam is going to be the first man to reach him. Massen looks over his shoulder. He'll see his teammate Erik van der Aarden. They've wiped away that breakaway there, which we saw go with Jesper Skibby. He's gone back into that long line, and that race is now moving over the ground. Over the top of the Suppressor. A lot of riders looking around to see where the attacks will come, and going through Maurizio Fondriest there, wearing the leader's jersey of the World Cup, because he was last year's winner. And this is a superb piece of racing, but I'm just wondering why Maurizio is setting such a pace here, not trying to break up the rhythm of everybody. This is Raul Alcala on the left of our picture. Raul Alcala for the PDM team has gone through and gone clear. Well, Alcala's got the quality, he's got the ability to climb these mountains. The only Mexican rider ever to have won a stage of the Tour de France. He did it at Spa-Francorchamps. And now he's gone clear. Fondriest has desisted. Jan Shaw from Motorola, and here's the camera, is there as well. And the Once rider who's come in is Johnny Welts from Denmark. The Danish really have got some superb individual riders now. Over in Denmark, there's not so much professional racing, but the good amateurs come out and find their contracts in Europe and really do put on a good show, those that make it. Here's Alcala now, gone clear at the minute. Looks very nice in his team colours of PDM. Little check down across the trees there, because he might be able to catch a glimpse of the chase bunch on the lower climbs. There's such explosive little climbs here. You can't really get into any good fighting rhythm. You've just got to push yourself to the limit and keep going. Another check over his shoulder. Well, As I was once told as a cyclist, no good looking round over your shoulder because the race is right here. You're making it. That's Jan Schur riding no-handed, the former East German, now on the Team Motorola. And sitting there just in front of him for the Ariostia team, it looked to me as though it was Rolf Sorensen. So another Danish showing well. Max Shandry going through in the Motorola colours as well. So that hard work by the Buckler team to bring the race together. You really should have sent a man away with Alcala at the same time. It was obviously that there would be an attack as soon as that field regrouped. Alcala allowed the Buckler team to bring the race together and immediately attacked. He's taken a gamble because he's gone on the suppressor, and that he went at around about 272 kilometres covered. The race is leaving him about 12 miles to go through to the finish, and there's two more riders got away from the front of that peloton. Left of our picture, we might just catch a glimpse of Alcala as we head round the horseshoe bend here. We'll try and get a closer look and see if we can work out who's on the attack down there. It's an Amaya rider who's gone clear, so I would suspect that's Per Pedersen. And he's been joined, another Danish rider by the way, moving clear. And the rider he's been joined by is one of the TVM team. And I'm pretty sure that's Dmitry Konishev. Well, there we are, it is. Konishev has gone through. So Per Pedersen and Dmitry Konishev. Konishev, the opportunist, as he so often has proven to be. Per Pedersen, the pro for a few years now. Knocked on the door, but never delivered the goods. Always had a little bit of a heart problem. And high hyperventilation of the heart has often caused concern with him. Well, I suspect that the situation can't be deemed as being serious, otherwise he wouldn't be riding so well today. He's up there now with Konishev. Alcala has laid down the challenge. And this would be a great victory for him and for PDM too. Beautiful road surface, it's made for high-speed cycling. They're riding this hill so quickly. And the Once team trying to mix it now, TVM trying to slow it down as well, and the Ariostia team trying to drive it on because the Italians do not like being beaten in their own event. They haven't had a great run. In fact, Laurent Fignon of France and Eric Mackler, Sean Kelly, Henny Kuiper have all taken the honours away in very recent years from the Italians. And Gianni Vugno put matters to rights with a superb solo win in 1990, and then again last year up came the little Claudio Chipucci and took victory as well. Onto the suppressor as we move towards the summit. The gradient steepening just a little bit, and Raul Alcala beginning to show signs of struggling now as the metronome pace there by Ariostia. It's coming from Rolf Goltz, the German. And this is a rider who in 1990 finished second in Milan San Remo, and in 1991 he got fourth in the Tour of Flanders. But I think right now he's in the team to try and get Ariostia's top guns firing, led by Moreno Argentine Adriano Baffi, the sprinter, back into this race. We've seen Rolf Sorensen clearly at the front, and they're working hard. That's Goltz still stepping it out on the head of the peloton. And Konishev is in second place, and they're all back together apart from this rider here. Raul Alcala's holding on to an 18-second lead. So the little likeable Mexican rider shot to fame with an 8th place in the Tour de France in 1989. That's when he had his stage win. First time a Mexican had ever won a stage in the Tour de France. Of course, that's the year which we all know Greg LeMond went on to final victory. Well, he's beginning to show signs of having a good classic season. He clearly has got good form, Raul. The Ariostia team have got themselves to the front now, and they're going to drive the peloton up here in a long, thin line, I think. They're very, very rapid climbs. Not really steep. And as we look down there now, it looks to me as though the team captain is in second place, and that's Moreno Argentin, and that was why Goltz was trying to close this race down. Argentin has come up through the peloton into second place on the chase, and they're closing in on Alcala. Will he make the Poggio? Because he's getting near the top of the suppressor, then he's got a little bit of a dive down through the valley again, and the Poggio is started round about 5 or 6 kilometres from the finish. A long lonely ride, the traditional scrabble now. After the fast ride down from Milan, the riders now begin to try and get to the front and see if they can finish it off. The Benesto rider here looks like Pedro Delgado having a go. So all of the stars are coming to the front now. Delgado at this stage of the race coming up here. Not a particular type of classic for Pedro, but he's right at the front on his particular type of terrain. That's the climbing. Alcala continues to gamble. Hugging the inside track as they come round that bend. Still Argentin nestling there in second place. And I think we've got Giorgio Furlan back up in the lead, setting the pace. That once compact peloton is now being stretched. As any good professional will tell you, if you have any ambition to win Milan-San Remo, then you should hit the Poggio in the first 15 or so riders and go with the move that will surely come on the climb. Well, the road conditions are kind at the minute. 12 miles to go now for Raul Alcala, because he's snaking through the towns and he's staying out of sight of the chase group. Continually checking just to see where everybody is. And his lead is round about 18 seconds still. Now we're on the way down. And the riders are getting clear of the field. The long descent through the twists and turns. And the face of the race is about to be changed. Alcala has been joined here. And it looks to me like a tall, thin rider from the Buckler team, and there's only one I can think of, and that will be Frans Maassen. And that is a good move. Now this is the move I thought we might have seen when the Buckler team closed down Jesper Skibby, because Maassen was lying second or third in the main field, but Alcala was the one who countered the move. Now this time Maassen has reached across to the leader by himself. And is quite prepared to take up the running here, Frans Maassen. But there's nothing in it because there's a counter move coming down. Looks like 5 or 6 riders. Well, Maassen has all the qualifications of winning this classic if he can get up there and stay there, but I don't know now. There's a lovely descent coming, and it looks like the majority of the peloton are all snaking their way down off these little sinuous mountains. Calls for an awful lot of skill because the corners quite often are tight and dangerous. And you can see by the way Maassen descends, he accelerates away from Alcala, but Alcala tends to close the gap, leaves his braking a little bit late, and runs up on the back end of Maassen there. And there's a lot of yellow jerseys down there being worn by Ariostia. There's one of them right there, and I think it's again Rolf Goltz who is bringing the race down the mountain. In fact, that is the other Rolf. That's Sorensen who's setting the pace now as they come down off the twists. And Rolf Sorensen pulling that line into a long, thin piece of string. Here's Maassen. And a quick check down the line. Oh, in fact, that's the split. That's the rest of the peloton trying to get on as we look here at the main field, breaking up all the time as they scrabble now for the wheels. We're doing roundabout here, 45 miles an hour. Sitting closest to our camera is Scott Sunderland, the Australian we caught a glimpse of. Number 227, sitting at the back of this first part of the split, but this is Masson in the all-important front end of the split, now being tracked very close indeed by Raoul. Won the Amstel Gold Race in 1991, Frans Masson, and that really is a great race to win in your own country. It has a tremendous support. And now the first counter-attack coming from the French Z team, Philippe Casado. Rode the British Milk Race once and went straight through a farm gate and disappeared into a field of corn, and unfortunately for him, broke his collarbone as well. But he's back to form now, and he looks like Philippe is going to be the first rider to get across. Well, they really have held off this field, and they've done it with tremendous will, because that race has been going behind them. We're streaking along the coast now. The next stop is the Poggio, and this is where the race is trying to regroup as far as the Ariostia boys are concerned, because in second place again we can see Moreno Argentin being carried along as best they can carry him by the teammates, and the teammate doing the carrying here is Rolf Goltz again. There's Argentin. I'm sure he'd dearly like to win this, but he's going to have to hold it until the last possible moment. He's trying to get what team he seems to have left. This is Max Chiandri of Motorola. Another Italian wants to do well. Stephen Roach has come up there too in fourth place. What a beautiful pedaler Stephen is. Just sits there, rides the gears. He has to be the nicest bicycle rider in the world right now. Coming through to give a helping hand, Furlan has come back to the front, and Argentin will be pleased to see him go by him to start making the pace again. And Argentin now picks up the wheel of Furlan. Furlan's turn to do the pacemaking. This is marvellous team riding by Ariostia, trying desperately to pull back the fugitives. Attacked by Motorola. Well, they keep on going, and they haven't yet been caught, and this time we've got the attack by Ron Kiefel now, as he's got off the front. I'm quite surprised people are actually being able to get off the front of this group right now. We've got Vyacheslav Yekimov there in third place, riding for Panasonic. Another man who's an opportunist, can win on his own, given the chance. And again, the strong men getting to the front. That bunch so much smaller now from the record field of 219 at the start. There's Furlan. Argentin in second place. We're going almost as quick as the train. And the people getting grandstand views from the passenger carriages of the railroad there. Chiandri throwing off his bottle, riding behind Yekimov. Maurizio Fondriest is back in the picture. He's just gone up into third place as well, as they regroup into one huge pack. They're all trying to get to the front now before they make the turn onto the climb of the Poggio, because they know that you need to be in the first 10 or 12 riders onto the narrow road. That's when the attacks will come. And we say goodbye to the train. That'll be in San Remo before us. Here's Laurent Fignon. Frans Masson just behind him, Roach behind Frans, and Argentin to the left. I think it's Eric Breukink who's also finding his way into the picture, just off to the right of our camera there. Well, there's no talking being done at all in this bunch, but an awful lot of fast cycling. They're trying to set themselves up here, and the Ariostia boys are doing so well. They've got their three men at the front. 51, looking over his shoulder is Moreno. Jan Shaw, Max Chiandri seem to be the Motorola boys. Phil Anderson, I just caught a glimpse of, has now come into the picture as well. And I've just seen Laurent Jalabert from the Oncé team, and he could be an excellent man to have around in the sprint finish. That's him, just his white helmet and yellow Oncé jersey, just below our picture. The pace continues to be set by Furlan. The worried, furrowed brow of Argentin. Frans Masson waiting. And I think the attack coming from Lotto. Hendrik Verdant is the rider who's trying to grab the wheel. The race all together again now. Regrouping, reforming, ready for the climb of the Poggio. That's Erik Breukink. So you spend about 10 or 12 miles positioning yourself at the head of this peloton, and then you hope you can hold that position until you start the climb of the Poggio, when, if all goes well, you'll be able to move into the lead. That's the theory, and as we all know, it's not as simple as it sounds. Nervous few seconds as you come through the darkened tunnel. And this looks like Andrea Cerato from Gatorade. Very twitchy and looking across to see who's going to come and help him out. Stunning scenery, but the skies, we've lost the lovely sun we had at the start, and we've now gone overcast. But really the weather rather nice for this time of the year. We're now looking at the Poggio climb as we move across towards it, and the riders very shortly are going to be on it. The last few kilometres of the long ride down from Milan. They've been in the saddle now for just over 7 hours. And Per Pedersen there, number 12, who was on the attack not too long ago, is now back in the rear position of the peloton. Jean-François Bernard is alongside him, just to the left of our picture on the Benesto team. Continual fighting to hold position as we move at a great speed here, around about 30 to 35 miles an hour. As you see the surge again coming up nearest the camera as riders rush to try and grab a nice position. And an attack, and this time it goes from, again, the Z team. It looks like Eric Boyer. Well, this is an attack from Z, and they could do with a big win. And Boyer goes clear. Greg LeMond's team. And LeMond riding the race, but we haven't seen him. And this is Eric Boyer, and he's the first onto the last climb now of the Poggio. That's the turn. And the Once team chasing him down, and surprisingly enough, the Ariostare riders have dropped away a little bit. Sean Kelly's got up there in third place. And that's a little bit of a surprise. The great veteran of world cycling, Sean Kelly. As we go back up to the leader. Heading now, it's a very short climb this, but there's just a chance if you can get a short lead, you can hold it on the descent. The race finishing in the Corso Cavallotti. Once you're over the top of the climb, you're looking at around about a couple, maybe a mile and a half to the finish. Eric Boyer, one of the strike men for the Tour de France for Roger Leger's team. Tempo starts behind now. There's a counter-attack again. That looks like Yekimov is going to go. Well, he is a real danger. He's the sort of man, you know, who could do the ride of his life if it comes his way. Vyacheslav Yekimov, the Russian, has gone, and he's going to try and make contact. He's an opportunist. He can't sprint, but he can win alone. This is a very good attack by Boyer. Now we're going to see Yekimov come up, and we're going to see somebody come up, but it's not going to be Yekimov. Oh, yes it is. Yes it is. He looks over his shoulder, and he's got company. It looks to me as though we have a Lotto rider getting onto the back of him now. Well, one or two strange teams. I must confess, I expected the Italians to launch the attack, but it looks to me as though there's others taking advantage of the big in-fight that was happening to get onto this climb, but the whole field has caught them up anyway and swamped them. Yekimov drops away very quickly, and now the action starts. Here we have it, and this now is Moreno Argentin coming up. And Argentin now trying to get really onto terms. He's waited till the last minute. His domestics have dropped away. It's all up to him on the climb of the Poggio. They can't help him now. And he's setting a very fast tempo indeed. And he slipped again. In fact, our camera a little bit in his way here, though no comment from Moreno. And the rider who's just got in there just behind him is one of the Mobili team. It's Stefano Colleget. But the attacks are coming now, and it looks as though Argentina is trying to go now and break the spirit of these riders. Superb piece of attacking riding. He's trying to get in amongst those motorcycles. They're going to have to move to get out of it. This is so typical of this race. They really do get too close. Jalabert is coming into our picture. Laurent Jalabert. Well, he was the rider we spotted a little bit earlier on, and Jalabert could really win this in the sprint if luck was to go with him. He's answered the attack of Moreno Argentin. Hendrik Redant has come through as well for Lotto. Jan Shaw here for the Motorola team, and what a nice picture that is. Full horseshoe bend, and he's gone again. This is the second time we've seen Argentin attack. The second time he's launched a very strong attack indeed. And once again the Tulip team have countered the move. And they'll try and pick it up, but again it looked to me like it was Jim van der Leer who got onto the back wheel there of Moreno, and he's eased again. Can you believe that? He's seen he was marked out of it. He's slowed down again as we go up to, and he's gone again. He's waited. He gave them the impression 2 attacks were enough, and he's gone again. And if you don't succeed first off, then go another time. And this time, well, I was going to say he had the gap, but again the Tulip rider has got across. Well, hats off to the way Argentin is riding. "31 years of age," it tells us there. And the rider who's come up to him is indeed Jim van der Leer. Again, he's having a great end of term in this part of the season. He's been on the attack throughout the closing stages of Milan San Remo. He's now got across to the leader, Moreno Argentin, and it looks as though he's on his own. Yekimov falling back. But the champion of Holland trying to get across. And that'll be Steven Rooks. And van der Leer has made the gap, and he's hit the wall, and Moreno Argentin is free. Well, you cannot say this man did not deserve to head the field. He has launched attack after attack here, and he deserved to get up into this leading group. I thought we caught a glimpse there of Raul Alcala trying to get back up too, but he didn't have the legs either, and Argentina's gone. That main field is forming a regroup at the front, and if he gets over the top of the Poggio, then they'll be very lucky to see him again today. It's a technical descent, the Poggio, but he's going to have to take risks because the bunch is very, very close behind him. Once you're off the Poggio, you're virtually at the finishing line. And just look at the speed now as Fondriest tries desperately to close down the gap. He's seen his rival Italian go clear. And I think you've got Rolf Sorensen in second place. Well, he won't chase down his leader, so Fondriest is going to have to do all of the work. Because Sorensen is on the defensive. This is Sean Kelly here. Sean Kelly, and look at the face of Sean Kelly as the rider he's with is Giuseppe Petito. But I think he's given way, and Kelly has gone through. Very difficult descent. I once remember Sean Kelly doing a great descent, by the way, in Paris-Nice. He went on to win the race because he went down the mountain in dense fog. He told me the next day, if you want to win a race, you've got to take chances. Well, that's the way the likeable Irishman thinks. Well, I'll tell you now, he's going to have to do something special if he's going to get on terms with Moreno Argentin, because he's gone. Looking forward to what would be his first victory in Milan San Remo. Little area of the course, because of the narrowness of it, no spectators are allowed. They can't risk any cars being left up here for the way down. In the years gone by, I've been treated to 1 or 2 spills, particularly on this bend. And the field is still there. He hasn't really got away, you know. If this levels out at the bottom, it's still Fondriest doing the chasing. Last year's World Cup winner trying to get back on terms, Sorensen and Kelly. And the rest are right there as well. The technical part of the descent. And round the whirligig goes Moreno Argentin as he tries to keep the rhythm up. He's made his effort. He hasn't really escaped that field, but he knows if he can get off this descent, and he knows too that those riders must take big risks now to pull him down. He has the advantage of seeing all of the corners, nobody in his way. But you know, you take one look at the wall there, you cannot make a mistake. You overshoot and you would be in quite serious trouble, I think. Once off the Poggio, you're heading down to the Corso Cavalotti. And just look at those shoulders, rock solid, all of the legs doing the talking. As we pull back, now let's see where the peloton is. There's still an awful lot of work to do. Kelly's got himself to the front now. Sorensen just behind him. Pondres has dropped back into third place. Then comes Steven Rux, the champion of the Netherlands. 3 kilometers to go, and Kelly kicks out of the corner. Well, Kelly of all people, this grand old man of world cycling, riding for the Festina team, the only team registered in Andorra, the Principality tucked away in the Pyrenees between Spain and France, and Kelly is pulling away. Just look at the way that field is now strung out as Kelly's taking his chances. I told you earlier, he's done it once before and it took him to victory in Paris-Nice. But 15 seconds, I think, is too much now. Argentine continues to make the descent, cool and controlled. Well, it would be nice if our Italian friends would swing the camera back, and that's what they're doing. And Kelly's coming back. Kelly has closed the gap. This is tremendous. He's got rid of Rolf Sorensen, who was right on his wheel, along with Pondres and the chasers. And Kelly must have taken some very serious risks on the bend. He must have left his braking late, and the others have decided not to take the chance because Kelly has gone clear. Well, he's always foolhardy, but look at this now. As Kelly swings round that bend, kicks out and goes for gold. It's all or nothing for Sean Kelly now. We're into the narrow roads, but we're not yet off the descent. And I don't think that Moreno Argentin will be aware that he's being chased down the mountain by one rider. There's Argentin, there is Kelly. This is a dramatic chase. The great thing about the Poggio mountain is that we have the advantage of the helicopter because our camera bikes really have great difficulty of staying in there. We've got one here with Argentin. But if this comes any tighter, I think the race referee will kick him out and make him go away. We're now off the descent of the Poggio. It's a straight 1.5 kilometer line towards the finishing line now. And Argentin will know now. He's looked over his shoulder and Sean Kelly has closed the gap. The mighty Sean Kelly is under the kilometre banner and he's freewheeling on. He's trying desperately now to recover from that chase. Just in time to go with Argentin in the sprint. If this had been a sprint 3 years ago, Kelly would have won, I'd have guaranteed it, but who can be sure now? But both riders are spent forces, surely. They can't afford to rest. They know that the chase is right behind them now. Argentin looks over. He's trying to calculate about the attack. And Kelly is on him. And Argentin's heart must have hit his boots. He looks at Kelly. He's probably trying to bring him to the front and coax him into the lead. And Kelly's done it all before. He's never going to be caught out now. Here we're looking at the man who won this race in 1986. Argentin goes again. And now we're lining up for the finish and Kelly is flatly refusing and the bunch is right behind them. They've regrouped completely. This is going to be a superb finish. We've been treated to the great attack on the Poggio by Argentin, to the great show of defiance by Sean Kelly, and the peloton are back in this race. They've got to go. Argentin knows it. It's either first, second or nothing. As they swing off this bend, Argentin is first rounded. Kelly waits and waits. The bunch is starting behind now. Kelly tries to go up and there's a crash in the bunch and Motorola are all down there. But Kelly comes clear and Sean Kelly has got the victory in Milan San Remo in the twilight of his years. Well, that is a tremendous result there for Sean Kelly. But look at the carnage behind here. Jan Shaw is on the ground. Max Chiandri is on the ground. Motorola riders are off, and that is a great shame. A touch of wheels in the main peloton in the breakaway, and they won't. That's Phil Anderson, I think, coming through for Motorola with the rest of the peloton. But let's have a look now at the glory here. And Sean Kelly made his move now. Well, what a dramatic chase off the Poggio mountain. At this point, he just made sure that Argentina had no more strength left, and then Kelly took time out to sit down and give the crowd who knows what may well be his last victory salute in a classic race. Superb win for Sean Kelly. The village of Carrick-on-Shore will be absolutely delighted with their man again. You see the fall in the background there. I think Jan Shaw's the first man to hit the deck, and he takes out Max Chiandri as well, and they start coming down. I think Michel Denis was another rider in there who also fell for Motorola. And Argentina, a little check over his shoulder and free wheels. First had run away from him. He must never have thought that. He was just making sure that second didn't go the same way. And bringing the field over in third place was Uwe Raab of the PDM team. What a great race. When we next come back in a few moments' time, we'll show you the 84th race from Milan to San Remo. And so the field rolled out again from the centre of Milan, 1 year on from the day that Sean Kelly, at 35 years of age, became the second oldest man in the history of the race to win it. The oldest, by the way, was the great Dutch rider Henny Kuiper. And this is about as perfect a day as you will ever see for Milan San Remo. It's beautiful and warm, and it really feels like spring. Once again, the course distance, 294 kilometres, taking the riders right down to the Tyrrhenian Sea as they swing onto the coast at Voltri, and the same little foothills all coming near the end, and the riders know only too well that that is where the race should finally close in. Oh, one or two riders happy and smiling as they roll out, but for the first 50 kilometres of the race there was virtually no action at all. Now it's changed a little bit as the attacks start to go. Once again, we're heading out towards the climb of the Capoberta. And it looks as though we've got two riders trying to start the action for what is still a very large group indeed. Moreno Argentin, outwitted 1 year ago by some fast descending by Sean Kelly. This is Stephen Hodge of the Onse team. Tremendously strong Australian rider who is such a valuable rider on this team. Being joined there by a member of the GAN squad. Stephen Hodge and Neil Stevens are the two riders who race on the Onse team. And this is Christophe Capel of the GAN team, and they could do with a bit of a result as well, but Hodgie now giving it all he can as he climbs with great confidence. And Capel of the GAN team. And the bunch are right there. They're coming up very, very rapidly indeed now on this attack by the two riders. And the first rider up on the far side there, rider for Ariostia. It looks as though it's Pascal Richard, the Swiss rider. And now we've got three of them, but only just ahead. There's a little bit more chance possibly with the fact that the Ariostia boys have again got up to the front. Rumour abounding that this is the last season of the team, which has dominated many of the classics through Moreno Argentin these past few years. But in fact it's all over. The field have regrouped here. Togetherness on what is a beautiful day. And there's an awful lot of riders still in with contention. Up towards the top of the Capoberta climb, as they're trying desperately to clear here the following cars. They've done with some success as the riders now try to pick up the pace again. Well, it's telling us we're all together, but as you can see there's a break trying to get away here. Four of them on the front. Still a lot of head searching to see if it's worth pushing on with the attack. And although it's a long way front to back, basically that field is now all together once more. We head away from the Capoberta, and next stop will be on to the Capo Sorpresa. Well, last year we saw all of the work of the Ariosto team, which came to nothing, and once more they're trying to get men back up to the front. The Italians outwitted by a very, very daring Irishman in Sean Kelly. But a new season, and Sean Kelly, of course, now 36 years of age. How much longer can he ride at the top four? And the sun beginning to throw a little bit of light down there. The shadows now forming again on the road. 35 kilometers to go. The field remain all together. 2 Italian victories in the last 3 years with Bugno and with Claudio Chiappucci. And Bugno is the current world champion for the 2nd season. The riders now begin to force the pace once more on the climb. The pace being forced up there by the Once team. Miguel Martinez trying to pave the way a little bit perhaps, and also doing the hard work here for the Ariosto is Pascal Richard again. Very, very good rider, Richard. There's the world champion Gianni Bugno, not too far away now with his Gatorade team. And Bugno moving smoothly. He's never really delivered the big results since he's won both of his World Road Race titles. But that so often befalls the current world champion. It's very difficult to win once you pull on that leader's or that world champion's arc-en-ciel, the rainbow jersey. Bugno holding the race near the front now. The man that once set the record in Milan-San Remo with a great lone victory. That was when he was on the Chateau Dax team. Now he rides for Gatorade, but they're said to be pulling out of the sport as well. They continue to set the pace here in a big way at the moment, and the rider who's doing it is Giovanni Fidanza. He's a very good rider, Fidanza. Great domestique for the team and can slip away into moves that sometimes result in a nice win. But it looks today as though he's been told by Bugno to go to the front and keep this race at high speed. In fact, the speed has rarely dropped below the 50 kilometers an hour for the last couple of hours. Well, the pattern's slightly different to the race we saw last year, because the field are staying compact. They're not slipping away like they were. Nobody is trying to nip into the lead. And you see the outside line moving rapidly up as we go up the inside. The rider's now looking for the suppressor, which isn't too far away. Surely this warm weather is going to inspire somebody to launch an attack. Bugno has the head of the race. I'm sure he'll be happy with that, but he won't push too much. He's waiting for the entrance to the suppressor, perhaps. About 265 kilometers covered here. Bugno's been joined up by a teammate up near the front there, and that was Stefano Zanata. And this looks like the balding scalp of Fignon, alongside Franz Masson of the New Word Perfect team there. Fignon riding out his final year, winner of the Tour de France in '83 and '84, but in and out of injury over the years. Has great moments of superb cycling in his legs, and then he disappears again. Now they're racing, they're trying to get through here for the riders onto the suppressor. That's Bontempi who's come through. There's Sean Yates in the colour of the British champions. So the animal's here, so too is Lance Armstrong. And Yates, you know, as he says, prolonged his professional career because he wants to help this young man, Lance Armstrong, who rode in the 1992 Olympic Games and finished out the season with a fine 2nd place in the Championship of Zurich, and now riding his first full season as a pro. And then Yates has got him right up to the front with a terrific turn of speed. Yates in the white jersey of British champion. Fully deserves that title at last. Superb rider Yates, but he's so content to help others win, when really he could have won so many big races himself. the only British riders who have won the Tour of Belgium. So Yates has got his man through to the front. Now, can Lance do anything about it? Castorama rider there is Laurent Brochard with the flowing locks just in front of our camera now. As Armstrong steps on the gas a little bit. What a confident rider he is, riding his first real big classic of the new season. There's a long year ahead of him, and he's riding with extreme confidence. A man who is enjoying his cycling, and if you can enjoy it, then you're going to win. Dancing over the pedals just behind him is Pascal Richard. I'm not too sure whether he'll know much about Lance Armstrong. And Pascal Richard keeping one eye at the front of the field, and the pace has considerably stepped up again as the field strings out onto the suppressor. It is so hard to hold your position at the front at this stage of Milan San Remo. It's never normally a difficult race in the early hours of the day, but it becomes a real classic at the end. It's the longest of all of our classic season, and it comes at the beginning when the riders aren't too sure whether their legs can take the distance at high speed as well. But there's Armstrong, very, very confident indeed as he continues to follow Pascal Richard. And it looks like Michel Dernice has come up with him there too for Motorola. And the strong and powerful legs here of Miguel Martinez. Spain, the one country which is trying to interrupt the great progress of the Italians. The French, the Dutch are not having the same impression at all. And it looks to me as though, in fact, Martinez, you may have caught the sight of the bit of blood on his elbow there, so he's been involved in an earlier crash. Well, just look at the face here of Lance Armstrong. He's making sure he stays in there, but I think it's hurting him a little bit. Holding tight formation as they climb up towards the top of the suppressor. And Bunyo, the world champion, has dropped right back. He's probably about 25th rider in that pack. If he's any ambitions today, he'll need to get back up to the front before they get to the Poggio. First man to go back-to-back in the World Championship since the great days of the flying Rick van Looy, a great sprinter from Belgium. Well, Armstrong maintaining a very good position at the head of this field behind Richard and Martinez. Miguel slips it up another gear as they flip towards the top of the climb, and an attack coming up on the outside of the road here. It looks like the Venezuelan, the only good Venezuelan professional, and it's Leonardo Sierra who's gone, and he's just come out of that pack, and immediately Pascal Richard takes him, sees him go through and jumps on his wheel. Armstrong follows suit. Good piece of riding by Lance Armstrong. He rides with some intelligence, and this only his first full season as a pro. And he's got another Motorola rider there with him for company. I've got a feeling, in fact, it's Maximilian Chiandri who's come up there too. And once again, Ariostier trying to get to the front now. Maurizio Fondriest, as he did last year when he was the World Cup defender. Didn't run out the World Cup winner again, but he's now come back to the fore in his pink lamprey jersey. And they're beginning to look now as though the big teams for Italy are coming once more up to the fore. Chiandri on the wheel of Fondriest. Pascal Richard. Franco Ballerini on the left of our picture, and no wins for him last season. And And yet in 1991, what a great season he had. Only a couple of wins, but continually well placed, as he was indeed in his best season, 1990. He is a classic rider, and maybe this will be his year again. But so far, we've got Fondriest sandwiched over on the left of our picture. And again, the Austria team trying to set this race up as they did a year ago. For the moment at least, Lance Armstrong has disappeared from our view. Three riders from Austria. Fondriest there in 5th place. Maximilian Sciandri just behind him, marking him well. And this is Massimiliano Lelli now setting the pace for Austria, but they're a little bit like a team with no head, the Austria boys, now that they've lost Moreno Argentin to the new Meccaia team. David Cassani or Bruno Kengialta, but they're not the big names that we've come to expect to win the Classics. Giorgio Furlan perhaps. But Argentin is in this race now in a very different race strip. He's now in the blue jersey. And it's not one of these at the front, because the blue jersey of the Carrera rider is Guido Bontempi, followed by Fondriest. Armstrong is still there, willing to answer the challenges. He tries to grab the wheel of Fondriest, and once again this long pull by Bontempi has stretched the field out. Here we are, the suppressor, with 12 miles left to go to the finish. We start the descent now down. Next stop will be the ascent of the Poggio. And Armstrong has gone clear. Well, sort of gone clear. He had to brake pretty sharply for what is a notorious bend there, but he attacked before the bend in the attempt to get clear, I think. And of course Lance doesn't know this course like the others do. And so, why the field sits up at the back here, I think Lance has still continued off the front. There he is, the lone rider in the lead, Lance Armstrong from the United States. Had a very disappointing Olympic Games. He stayed amateur for the Olympic Games in Barcelona in 1992, but Motorola by then had already promised him a professional contract as soon as the Olympic Games were over, but he was so disappointed on that very hot day in Spain, and he did not come up with the goods, and he sets himself very high standards, but I think he'll have forgotten all about that now. He had a great end of term as a professional, and as you can see, he's enjoying new life in the peloton of the pros. Just look at him go now. And this is a very serious move by Lance Armstrong. He knows he's got some strong teammates back there, including Max Sciandri, that should they bring back Armstrong, there's always the chance that Sciandri could handle himself in the sprint finish and Motorola could get the victory. And there's a counter-attack going off the front. Well, in fact, news has reached us that Miguel Indurain and indeed Argentin have both punctured on the climb of the suppressor and are now behind the race. I'm not sure that Indurain will worry too much. He's not the sort of classic rider that we've come to expect big rides in Milan San Remo from him, but Argentin will be particularly upset. He doesn't seem to have too much luck in this race, does he? And Armstrong also now being swept up by the head of this main field. But still Armstrong looks around, he's alert and he's happy. This is the chase back here by Moreno Argentin, coming back up towards the back of the field and riding very smoothly. Our first chance to see the new colours of the Meccaia team. Well, the way these riders are going at the front, they're just putting their head down and going as fast as they can, and then waiting for somebody else to do the same in the hope that they're just hurting everybody at the back end of the string. These are not attacks as such. And coming through here, one of the GAN team riders, and that's Jean-Claude Colotti. Little Jean-Claude, good sprint finisher, can expect a high finish. And 243 we can see there is Yvon Le Danois, the Frenchman who rides on the New Word Perfect team. Thinning out a bit, that lead bunch, but nobody able to crack it. But this constant attacking at the front should give us a great climb of the Poggio. Again the long thin line. Saw them attempt to form an echelon. The wind coming gently off the ocean side, the left of the riders. Stephen Hodge has got himself a little gap, but nobody prepared to go with him. The great Australian rider speaks Spanish now, joining the Once team. And Johan Museu, now there's an interesting name to conjure with, and Shandy's got his wheel as well. The world champion Gianni Bugno is coming back into the thick of the action. Raul Alcala, 241. Well, a year ago he was in the thick of the action, very much so at this stage of the race. And that little group now that's forwards ahead is round about 20 to 25 riders strong, I would say. And the men who are missing from it are Argentine and Indurain. And I think Argentine will be in this group here that's trying to chase back. Stephen Hodge continuing to set the pressure, but he should take a look over his shoulder because he has quite a lot of riders for company just now. And the only reason that Hodge is going to continue to go like this, he's giving his race away in the hope that Laurent Jalabert can produce the sprint finish. Jalabert is a good sprinter and a good stayer, and judging by the way that Stephen is riding, we must presume that Jalabert is now in that lead group. We'll keep an eye out for him as they come out of the tunnel and back into our view. This is why Stephen is so popular with his team, prepared to always work hard for them. But that's an attack down the... In fact, that's Le Danois who's gone again for the Word Perfect team. Yvon Le Danois trying to get the new team off to a flying start with a classic victory, and Jan Ross is expecting them to take a classic victory this spring indeed. 23 years of age, an interesting prospect for France. One of the few Frenchmen who rides on a foreign team, but they're on him straight away. Le Danois had really very little approach there as we head towards the Poggio now. They were on him straight away. Well, I make it a nice round number in that breakaway, 30 riders. And still Stephen has got himself at the front, keeping the pace up. We must have a look out and see if we can pick out the other yellow jersey in that, which will be certainly of Laurent Jalabert. Ah, here we go, onto the Poggio. The world champion Gianni Bugno sitting just off the back, and looking very, very calm and collected near the rear of the race. Number 4 going through behind him, Stephen Rooks, as we make the traditional swing up to the narrow slopes of the Poggio. Stephen Rooks, former champion of Holland, on the wheel of the world champion for the second year running, Gianni Bugno. And in fact, I can see Laurent Jalabert in this group, and that is why Hodge is actually riding so hard at the front. And there's a tremendous attack gone there, tremendous attack off the front. It's an Ariosto rider who's gone, and in fact that is Marco Saligari who's gone. Well, they've got to do something because they haven't got an Argentine on the team, and there probably is well at the moment because Argentine isn't in this leading group. The attack has gone then from Marco Saligari. Well, this is an interesting move indeed, and wouldn't it be ironic too if Ariosto could pull off the victory here when they've lost their team leader to a rival team. There he is, 27 years of age, a pro since 1986. And has never won a great race. But that doesn't mean he's not a great rider. And the field are slowly clawing him back, inch by inch. He made the move, he got the gap, but I think it's coming down again. Not only coming down, but come down, and this is Luke Rouston who's gone for Lotto. A good time to attack because he hopes that they're tired. But Rouston has gone, Pascal Richard has got his wheel. He's done some work today, Richard, in trying to control this race. And then rely on one of the team sprinters, maybe. But anyway, it's all come nicely back together once more. And now we've got a rider from the class team going. They've got to keep on trying if they're going to go places. And this rider who is attacked right now is Inaki Gaston. But although Gaston has put up some great performances, he's a good friend of Sean Kelly's too. It doesn't look as though they're going to give him too much lead. There's already a raiding party got off the front of that group. There's Gaston, working extremely hard to hold them on the Peugeot. Once up the top, remember, quick descent and you're home and dry. So Inaki Gaston keeping it going, keeping the rhythm high, but oh dear me, they're coming up right behind him. There's another rider slipped away off the front too. We should see Gaston go around the corner just ahead. There he is. But again, the motorcyclists in the Milan San Remo do tend to try and get just too close. It's not a course really to get mixed up with the race, give them the chance to ride. And now they're still in behind Gaston, and it really is just a little bit too close for comfort. Gaston's gone for the moment. And there's a rider coming up to him now, and you know it could have been Maurizio Fondriest, the tall figure in his new Lamprey colours. And again the Once riders massing at the front. The way to stop attacks is to keep the pace as high as possible, up and over the top now of the Peugeot. And the crowd here will have to rush inside and watch the finish live on television. And the motorcyclists there doing very well to slip through in what is a perfectly straight line. And just the one rider chasing the one rider. And that's a situation, two men dangling right in front of a field of some 30 riders surviving Milan San Remo. We could be treated here to a terrific bunch sprint as the field is starting to come back together again. This is the chase group coming up, and there's still a big bunch there as well. And it's in this group where in fact Moreno Argentin is now a captive. Gaston still clear. But the field are on him. It's almost all over for Inaki Gaston. And in fact a rider has gone, that's Fondriest. Fondriest has gone up to him and gone past him. Maurizio Fondriest has waited till almost the top of the Peugeot, and he's put in a tremendous effort here. One rider trying to reach him, nobody else. Maurizio Fondriest trying to go strongly all the way to the summit of the Peugeot. Take a few deep breaths and then try and go down. You do well to remember what happened to Moreno Argentin when he did this last year. So Fondriest, who is well liked here in Italy. He started out looking like he would be a world beater, but he was a little bit slow to warm up. He won his world championship a bit prematurely because he took advantage of the rough and tumble between Steve Bauer of Canada and Claude Coquillon of Belgium at the end of the World Championships back in the late 80s. But he's gone now, and he's got the gap, and if he can keep his head down and go down the other side of the mountain, well, perhaps the legs of Sean Kelly won't be able to catch up this time. We'll soon know. He's gone with time on his side to make a gap before the plunge, and there's a little group got off, and it's quite a big group, in fact 6 to 7 riders trying to chase him down. We're on the way down now. Fondriest round the corner. And the The motorbikes will give the game away. That will locate him for the chasing group as they start the long plunge. Fondriest just straightening up before he clips that wall as he starts to go down. Looked to me to be about half a dozen chasers in that group, and we'll try and have a look who they are as soon as they come back into our shot. I don't suppose Fondriest will be worrying too much as long as they don't catch up. 5 victories already in 1993 for Maurizio Fondriest. He's had a marvellous start to the season. He's clearly got the form, and he's now about to prove it in front of the Italian Tifosi. There are indeed 6 riders in that group, and Laurent Jalabert is leading them. So all of the hard work of Stephen Hodge, and he's got Jalabert now into the group, and one man is about to spoil a perfect day unless he gets on terms. Second rider in that line, as he was a year ago, Rolf Sorensen. And Sorensen up there too. I think Franco Ballerini for the GBMG boys is there. Well, I really thought that Kelly made a good descent last year to catch up with Moreno Argentin, but just watch the way this man descends, and there's a rider gone clear of the chase group, also descending like a stone. And the long thin line of the remnants of this first 30 riders now also coming off the mountain at high speed. There's the face of Fondriest, and just take a good look at that. That's hurting him. Maurizio Fondriest keeps his rhythm high. He knows now though that there's no Kelly coming up this year. Maurizio Fondriest is heading up towards the line. The chase is on for second place only. As he goes clear, Maurizio Fondriest of Italy is going to give the Italians what they want, an Italian victory. They're cheering him all the way. Just look at the crowd here as they cheer home Maurizio Fondriest. It's going to be ever so close though, as the chase group is right behind the lead car. And Fondriest is coming in alone. He one final look over his shoulder, just making sure. And now the victory salute. That's Luca Gelfi of all people who's got away for second place. And that is a ride out of the blue for Gelfi. He's going to be a few seconds behind him though. Fondriest is the winner. Another ride of almost 7.5 hours today. The race comes in, and then follows in Gelfi. And Jalabert comes in too, and Rolf Sorensen. I think Chiandri in fact pipped Jalabert on the line as the riders speed over the line. Well, Fondriest is in, and a great result indeed for the wonderful Italian. But just look at what has happened now. The race director's car stopped immediately after the line was crossed, and the riders have piled into the back of the car. And Jean-Francois Bernard is bringing the main field in, and there's likely now to be even more carnage. This is absolutely disgraceful. Well, that is terrible. Those riders who spent nearly 7.5 hours in the saddle, they're fatigued, and the lead car stopped just over the line. It's the car of the organisation, and this is now the sprint for a long way down. In fact, the sprint for 32nd place. And the people here trying desperately to stop riders piling in one after the other into the back of the car, which is parked just below our camera. We can't see this, but I can tell you that one of the principal victims of this crash is Jean-Claude Colotti, the GAN rider, who is reportedly unconscious and has hurt his knee quite badly. Well, that is a disgrace, and I'm quite sure that the world body, the Union Cycliste Internationale, are going to ask a lot of questions. As we say goodbye to you on this occasion from the Milan-San Remo though, with an Italian victory, Maurizio Fondriest. And so to the 85th Milan-San Remo, 1994. And again, the weather is beautiful, but look at the palms there. The wind is blowing very strongly indeed. And so this is the first of a revamped World Cup competition, now including 10 races this year. And the race over the usual distance, 294 kilometres, going down to San Remo in the northwest of Italy. And this is the route they face. 191 riders on the start line this morning, and the route remaining exactly the same as it has for the past few years, joining the coast and then running right down the Tyrrhenian Sea into San Remo. And the rider's looking a little bit bored before the start today. There's Mr. Torriani, who's been one of the most famous personages in the world of cycling over the past many years. I wouldn't like to say how many years, but he's still one of the most revered organisers in the world. The longest classic on the world calendar, and the first World Cup points at stake. 50 points for the winner. A lot of new colours on the peloton this year, as we see to the just off our camera. The Lotto team colours are red and black now. We still have the Lamprey team, but the new team, the Polti team, is a multicoloured jersey. And on that team, Gianni Bugno and Jamaluddin Abdou-Japarov. The neutralised rollout away from the centre of Milano before the riders get underway and then begin their long trek south. Always takes around 7 hours 15 to 7 hours 30 minutes to ride, and it really gets underway when you get down to the first big climb of the Passo Tocino at 143 kilometres covered. Now we're 55 kilometres from the finish, and a small group of 3 riders not very far ahead of the field. 34 miles to go, and again the riders saving best till last. Fabio Roscioli, Carlo Boemens, former champion of Belgium, Frans Maassen, former champion of Holland. Roscioli, the man that won the stage of the Tour de France last year in that marvellous long breakaway. Little bit of a bore to watch because he was away for more than 200 plus kilometres, but in the end he won, and it was a very nice result for him indeed. An awful lot of riders from the original 191 are still in this peloton. I would say somewhere in the region of 70 riders in that group. Let's go back up to the leaders. This is Roscioli here at the back. Roscioli riding for the Brescia team. And Frans Maassen always at or near the front in Milan San Remo. This is Carlo Boemens on the GBMG team. Roscioli promising a good season, I feel. Although having said that, he's lacking a little bit of speed on the climb here. He drops back just a little bit. And the new team, Gewiss team, has got all of their men at the front and beginning to chase down. And a very powerful 4 men they have there too. And this is now Boemens setting out the pace. No, he's not. He's on the wheel of Frans Maassen. Word Perfect didn't have a great season last year. Their best win really was the great victory by Raoul Alcala in the Tour du Pont. Disappointing Tour de France for them. And then halfway through the year they sacked Eric van der Orden from the team. And van der Orden now riding on the new Brescia team, and in fact leading them. And Luca Gelfi is on that team as well after his 2nd place last year in this race. And I'm quite sure that when we get down to the finish in San Remo, we will find the security a lot tighter than it was a year ago after that horrendous crash which reverberated around the corridors of the UCI all year. And they demanded changes and indeed fined the organisation quite a lot of money for the lack of security at the finish. And the big figure of the champion of Holland there, Erik Breukink, setting the pace now, and he's pulled that race into a long thin line as well. And what a lovely picture that is. The cycling season is on again. 28 miles to go to the finish on the Caposervo. Spectacular countryside, keeping the ocean on our left. Well, it would be nice to see Erik Breukink come back to good form and do something in this race. Won the Championship of Holland last season. And and in fact he's trying to get away up there, I think. There's a group of 4 riders at least trying to move clear, and this is Eric van der Aarden, the rider I was talking about earlier, on his new team, and it's an Italian team, and he might well be wanting to cock a snoop at the Word Perfect team who got rid of him. Obviously he's been training hard through the winter. He's not a rider we've seen attack at the front for quite a while, winner of Paris-Roubaix when he was champion of Belgium. It's almost as if he's tempting them to come out and join him. Well, he's got the gap. Now he's made the decision, he's going to have to go with it. 32 years of age. Eric van der Aarden. And a gathering of the forces behind here. There's Eric Breukink on the far side of our picture. And a general regrouping by the field. And van der Aarden doesn't seem as though he's in too much of a mood to continue. A small gap for the Belgium champion, or former champion of Belgium, and in fact that gap has been closed down now. Jacques Giron has come up in the Championship of France colours, blue, white and red, and the other rider who's joined him on the attack is Andrzej Szybkowski, new professional on the Kelme team. 3 and 1 more coming across the gap, and it looks to me as though we've got a rider from Carrera coming across the gap at a great speed here, and this rider who's joining us beat Zeeberg. Very talented rider from Switzerland, and he's come across that gap very quickly with the rider from TVM, and it looked to me with the riding style of Johan Capio, another former champion of Belgium and a good sprint finisher after a tough race. So this is an interesting little group that they've got going now. It's quite a diverse little group, new riders, new professional riders. Current champion of France, Jacques Giron, you may remember he was the surprise winner of the Tour of Flanders after a long breakaway that upset everybody except Jacques Giron. I thought it was wonderful. And the rider giving his little look at the camera here, Heinrich Trumheller, former champion of Germany. And there's a nice picture there of Miguel Indurain. Always a man to start slowly, allow his form to come gently, and he will think of being in the action. Oh, he can't hear too well. He'll be in the action by the time it gets round to the Giro d'Italia and also the Tour de France, so both of which will be recorded on famous cycling videos for you to enjoy. Well, that's the little breakaway, but the field are angry. They've got the arrowhead formed and they're chasing them down. But we can see the lineup, every bit the ones that we've just given to you. But I think they're giving it 12 seconds, but it's not really very much at all. Alexander Gonchenkov is the rider on Maurizio Fondriest's team, who's trying to close it down. Ukraine rider, by the way, and we're just inside 25 miles to go. This is Evgeny Berzin and Eric van der Aarden. And once again a familiar sight in the white jersey as the new World Cup holder for the second time after that marvellous season he had last year, Maurizio Fondriest. 28 victories, and there were quality wins indeed. And the young Russian former World Pursuit champion Berzin still riding very strongly up near the front. And the other rider we can see up there now, I think, is Alberto Volpi, up near the front here too. Well, we could almost hold a conversation. The cameraman has got so close there into the eyes of Giorgio Furlan. Stephen Ruck's just behind him. And that is in fact attacked by Claudio Chiappucci. And another rider coming up, and this is Gianluca Bortolami who's coming up. Bortolami was on the same team as Fondriest last year, Lampre, but he's moved teams now, and he's got across to Claudio Chiappucci. And Bortolami was 43rd in Milan San Remo last year. and had a couple of small wins as well. Into Imperia. The main field still beginning to wonder now, because this is a good attack. A man that matters has gone clear, Claudio Chiappucci. Always chooses strange moments to attack, and the riders can never work out his idea of tactics, but there he is, and he's now up with Bortolami, who's moved across to the new Mappe class team, which is a mixture of Italian and Spanish riders. And one or two riders trying to join them. And I think Claudio might welcome a small group, and here it is. As they get themselves together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 riders forming at the front. And there we can see for the first time the new colours of the Polti team. And the man who's doing a lot of the chasing there is Pelliccioli and Gianni Bugno himself, number 191. General repacking of the field here at the front. Very calm waters of the Tyrrhenian Sea. As we gently surge to pick up the leaders of the peloton. And again, they've got themselves organised, and that leading group is going to be swept up. Bugno following through on Pelliccioli's wheel, the field trying to get back together again. The surge is both sides of the road now as they try to reposition themselves. Lance Armstrong up near the front as well, just caught a glimpse of the new world champion in his colours for the first classic of the year. He rode so well in this race a year ago, but he wasn't the world champion then, and neither could he have possibly realised what a marvellous season he was going to have. Stage win in the Tour de France, the $1 million he won in the United States, and the national championship included in that $1 million victory. And now we're heading up towards the suppressor. Motorola driving, Raul Alcala back in the thick of things again. And the rider leading the charge here for Motorola is Phil Anderson, who by the way has had his hair cut. And he looks about 10 years younger. And there's a little split got away there as we've started the climb of the suppressor. Raul Alcala, I think, has gone into that leading group. There he is. And this is Evgeny Berzin, the Russian rider, former World Pursuit champion as an amateur, who's also come up into this leading group as well. This is a very strong attack indeed. And gritting his teeth, but tucked in nicely, Claudio Chiappucci. And I think that's Johan Museeuw, who's just looked round to see who the other man is who's caught the back of the train. Well, Chiappucci has done extremely well to find his second wind with enough time to get onto the back of this one. As we look now at Johan Museeuw, and 138 going through our picture there. Well, that is Valerio Tebaldi. He's won a couple of opportunist stages in the Tour de France in years gone by. One rider still to come across, it appears. A big effort being made. The main field not too far behind. And there's the composition: Zbigniew Spruk, Chiappucci, Museeuw, Berzin, Tebaldi, Raul Alcala and Stefano Zanini is the rider who's just latched on from the back. And he's not going to be alone here, as the other rider who tries to get on is Tebaldi. I think, in fact, Tebaldi has got himself in a spot of bother there and he's going backwards out of that group. Well, there seem to be more riders than ever in this main field now. A quick assessment by some teams realise the break has gone and they haven't got a representative up there at all. These are the legs of Evgeny Berzin. And Tebaldi has drifted away from this group, so he didn't last too long. And David Cassani, number 83, there's an interesting rider to watch out for. The Italian riding on the GB team. teammate of Johan Museu, and a chance to play a possible interesting tactical card. And the sun right in the eyes of the riders now as we look at them. Berzan sitting near the back. And the pace again being set by Claudio Chiappucci. Zbigniew Spruk is the rider in the Lamprey team colours. There he is. And this is Berzan. Small, neat little rider. 163 here is Stefano Zanini, not to be underestimated at all. There's Cassani. This is Chiappucci. Just sits there, bangs out the rhythm with his legs. And there's Raul Alcala in third place. Alcala too has always ridden well in Milan-San Remo. He's rejoined the Motorola team. The last 3 years of Milan-San Remo for him has been 3 different teams. PDM, Work Perfect, now Motorola, but he always gets in towards the decision time. 15 seconds, you've got to start somewhere. Johan Museu sitting near the back of the field, if not at the back of this line of riders. Spruk in front of him, then Berzan. There's the field behind. They're packing a little bit. Interesting this, because it's the Polti team who are not in the breakaway and are not evident at all in the chase either. It's Onseo trying desperately now to drag the rest into this race. Continuing the ascent. And there's the breakaway to the right, and here's the chase back coming in from the left. 18 seconds. They've pulled out another 3 seconds. It's not enough. They must get away quicker than this, because otherwise over the top of the suppressor they'll be charging down on them before they all jostle for position yet again for the entrance to the Poggio. 12 miles to go. Such a diversity of form at this time of the year. The riders know the names, but they don't know just how well those names are actually pedaling their bikes. Cassani is setting the pace. Certainly the names in that breakaway should stay away. And in fact that gap is going up slightly, I would say. Just about a kilometre. That's what it tells us to the top of the climb. There's big Miguel Indurain in the centre of our camera, looking around, keeping out of trouble. Maybe his form is there after all. And this is what it's like to go down with our television motorbike right up behind the riders and giving us the same impression of the descent. Spruk is the rider last in line. Zanata would like somebody to come and help. Well, I can't think why. He's still a long way from the lead. And it's Raul Alcala setting the pace. And immediately Cassani willing to help him. Johan Museu sitting back there. I think he's not convinced this breakaway is going to work, otherwise he might give it a little bit more, because surely he would win the sprint if they stayed together until the line. These descents are so difficult, so technically difficult. You saw the speed the riders break down for that bend just then. You can't afford to make too many mistakes, because it's not a long way to fall, but the slopes are steep enough and the roads aren't very often guarded here. Alcala coming through beautifully on the inside there, keeping Cassani away, and Alcala trying to go through. But they've recovered, and they're all on them again as we're coming off the suppressor, and the next stop will be the valley. before we head up for the last climb of the race. Maurizio Fondriest, who won a year ago in that carnage at the finish, which really ruined the season of Jean-Claude Colotti, the little French sprinter on the GAN team. Well, he went on to win the World Cup and a fabulous season. Now we're looking at the face here of David Cassani, a really nice person, and has his moments of greatness, as he certainly did in last year's Tour de France. Leader for a while, the King of the Mountains, which he thought was a great situation because he never considered himself to be a climber. And then he went off on a long escapade in the mountains as well. Into the last 18 kilometers. Well, the surprise, and he's beginning to settle into professional racing, is the presence up here of Evgeny Berzin. But the gap is coming down. It's down to 13 seconds now, and they haven't shown any signs of tiring here, so the chase behind must be the real result of some hard work being done. What an international race. But again, you see, even though you've got Polish, Belgian, Russian and Mexican riders, there are 3 Italian riders in the breakaway. Zanata. And it looks as though the chase back is beginning to have its effect, because that's a team rider coming across from the Mercatoni team. I think they're the ones who've been doing the chasing, and here they are. Giuseppe Petito. Been around a long time, Petito, but he's a very, very good workhorse. Bringing the race across. And this is his teammate, Simone Biaschi. And it looks, and there's Laurent Jalabert now, second in line here. Again being brought into a situation where he might be able to use his sprint. Stefano Della Santa. On the same team as Tony Rominger this year. Jalabert must be the rider we've got to consider if this race comes together once more. And Max Sciandri in his new colours, out of Team Motorola this year and into the GB team of Italy, a team full of stars, full of champions. It may be hard for Sciandri to shine in that team, but he's going to give it a go anyway. He's always felt he's been denied a place in the World Championship team, and he's been riding extremely well because he's raced on the American Motorola team and not shown an allegiance to an Italian squad. Well, he's going to give it a go in Italy again. But there are frankly so many stars in Italian cycling right now, it's really difficult to get a place on the professional road championship team. So the race is being wiped up, and it's going to be all down once again to decision time on the Poggio. Always an exciting moment. This is Biaschi. Mercatoni boys realised they had nobody in the breakaway and they had to do the work, and now they've just got one rider sticking his nose out front. Well, there's somewhere in the region of 40-45 riders in this league group. There were 30 last year. So again, it's been a selection of the strong men and the early season fit men, and a proliferation of the Motorola team. And there's the wind coming over, what wind there is from the left of our picture. And a massive colour indeed. Alberto Elli is the rider second in line. A lot of boys are trying to get back on terms. Peter Fadazijn is there. André Schmil was there. A long fast turn being done by Mercatoni Uno. And in particular, this man here, Biaschi. Well, I think once he completes his turn at the front, which is to keep this race as high as possible and try and stop the attacks, because they know that if they can get their man Adriano Baffi down to the finishing line and Mario Cipollini, they could take first and second. Well, I haven't caught a glimpse of either of those riders in this group, although I don't doubt for one moment that at least one of them is here. Into the last 7 miles. Waiting traffic on the left there as the leading 40 or so riders in Milan San Remo go by. There's Cipollini now. Cipollini on that lime green bicycle, happily ticking along, knowing that his team is doing their bit, and he only hopes he can do his bit when they come down to the finish. But it's going perfectly for him just now. No breakaways at all up the road as we race down towards the finish on the Via Roma again, the old finish. Onto the Via Cavalotti and finally into San Remo on the Via Roma. And I think it's just about now that the legs here of Simone Biaschi are beginning to crack, and in fact at the same time there's an attack, and that's Alberto Volpi, the rider who won the World Cup Classic in Leeds, England last year, then was thrown out for taking dope, then got back in because of a technicality and was re-awarded the victory. Well, now he's back in the thick of it and really is going very, very strongly indeed. A member of the new Gavais Balan team, and he must be considered a very lucky man indeed, because in Italy these days, once you've found positive for dope taking, you are automatically out for 2 years now. And that for him would have been the end of his career. There's Berzan trying to get back up front to be a little help to his teammate Volpi. So there's clearly a plan being hatched here by the Gavais team. They're led by Giorgio Furlan and Moreno Argentin, but they have such a strong team. Guido Bontempi, Bruno Kengialta, Evgeny Berzan is the young Russian. He's brought with him his old teammate Vladislav Bobrik. And a couple of years ago, well, 4 years ago, in the Tour de Trump as it was, we may remember the long breakaway by a young Russian amateur called Bobrik, and that was the start of recognition as far as he was concerned. He's now a professional and he's riding on this Gavais team. Cassani's got himself back to the front. This man tries so hard. So this is becoming a little personal battle here between the Gavais Balan team and the MG boys. MG, of course, have their sprinters, and Polti have Jamaluddin Abdu Japarov, although I haven't seen him at all, and I'm not too sure he's in this group. Just slipping through there with Alberto Elli. They're just rolling along again at high speed. There doesn't really seem to be a front of the peloton. Riders will pop up from every direction. Oh, there's a bottle went winging through the air there. You probably spotted it. But riders just seem to be keeping the pace high and hoping their teammates are following them. We've got Frankie Andreu now right at the front of the peloton for Motorola. Looking around, seeing who's going to come with him. Well, Andreu will be looking for his sprinters as well. And a nice bird's eye view here from the clubmen of the cycling clubs here in Italy as they watch the approach now of the top 40 men in Milan San Remo. And noticing there, coming up into second place, Massimo Potenza, the champion of Italy. Not a fashionable name in Italian cycling, but he won the national championship, and he's making sure we all can see him too in this year's Milan San Remo. And Cassani again fights his way back to the front. He rocks and rolls there, but he's actually been overtaken and dropped back a little bit because the Mercatoni team have come back into the action. And thinking of Cipollini again. The pace is so quick now, nobody can get off the front of this group, and this is exactly what Mercatoni Uno want. 8.5 kilometers to the finish, and here we go, heading up towards the Poggio again. And again, it is the same rider for Mercatoni Uno, Biaschi, who's setting the pace, along with Cassani. Well, they're attacking this climb like it is the finish at the summit. They're going uphill and they can hardly get round the corner, they're going so quickly. And once more, the television motorbike misjudging the speed of the attack there by Cassani and slowed the race right down, lost all of his impetus, and that's a shame. Cassani, in fact, now trying to push out an advantage here. He's going to go again, I think. David Cassani. Often rides unshaven, but he's a tough boy. But I think at the moment he is not going to be allowed any leeway at all here. And they're not pulling away either. Giorgio Vola, and I think that's a little bit of a cheer on for Furlan. We've just seen his surname go through as well, and they're not too far away. Berzan has now got to the front. This young man, full of enthusiasm, and has never been riding so well at this time of the year. Well, professional last year. And there's the zigzags up the Poggio. Snake their way up to the top. Berzan has got himself up near the front now, off to a great start this year with second in the Tour of the Mediterranean and second in Tirreno Adriatico. There he is. Surely not going to have to wait too long for a reasonable victory. I don't think he's ever won a race as a professional. The ever-changing direction of Milan San Remo, but the same names are holding their position at the front. As the Mercatoni Uno boys trying to keep this race desperately together so that Cipollini will win in the sprint. And you've got young riders like Berzan here, he's trying to rip them apart. Cassani having a great race up there in second place. Fondriest is also back in the picture again. Well, this new team, the Geweiss Balan team, has ridden extremely well today. And Berzan in particular, and Cassani. And following them both up the mountain at the moment, we have the leader of the team, Giorgio Furlan, number one there, last year's winner, Maurizio Fondriest, again trying to force his way into the picture. It was around about here where Fondriest springboarded away to win the race. And in fact, it looks as though Furlan is going. Giorgio Furlan slipped it up a gear, went round his teammate and has broken clear, I think. And this is more or less where Fondriest did it a year ago. It takes an awfully fit man to do this at this point of the race. But because the race has been so high for at least 2 hours now, if you've got the speed to lift it that couple of kilometers an hour more, you break the elastic. But I'm pretty sure that was Giorgio Furlan who has gone. And there he is, winner of Tirreno Adriatico this year. And now with a little bit of luck, and he's going to need it because they're right behind him, he could be winner of Milan San Remo for the first time. Still a little bit of climbing to come before the plunge down to the finish line. There's Fondriest. And there's Stefano Zanini as well, has got back into the thick of the action. And one of the other riders from Lotto there was Andre Schmil in the red jersey. But they're going to have to work now because Giorgio Furlan, they know his form, he's on tremendous form. Not only did he win Tirreno Adriatico, but he also won 3 stages of that race, which is seen as the preparation race for Milan San Remo. And before that, he won a stage in the Sicilian Week and the Pantalica Trophy. So he's got the legs, but he's going to try and win this the hard way. And there's the chase group, 5 riders trying to now consolidate on the chase down. Maximilian Chandri is there, Fondriest is there. They've got the strength. Giorgio Furlan is waiting for none of them. He's going to have to thank the wonderful work of his young teammate Evgeny Berzan if he does win. Berzan kept the pace so high up the Poggio. And then just before the top, he moved over and watched his teammate springboard. Just about 3.5 miles to go down to the finish. Desperately tight corner, this one. Steep camber as you come round the left-hand bend. Furlan's made it first and well. He's never looked over his shoulder once yet. He daren't, I don't think. He's just going as best he can. This was the situation that Fondriest was in last year. But you know, although they get away on the Poggio, the gap does not grow because they simply can't grow. They can only pedal so much faster than the chase group, and there's very little space left to manoeuvre. If he senses the pace is slackening, he kicks again, he watches his line, he's got the advantage on the descent now. Giorgio Furlan going clear. And again, the sprinters are being denied a victory in Milan-San Remo by a man who's taken his chance. That was Fondriest we saw there leading the chase down the mountain. But the gap for anything, I think, has grown now. And this is going to be one of Furlan's great moments. He's won some of the finest races in his life, but not very often indeed. But the gap, as you can see for yourself now. Giorgio Furlan moving nicely ahead. There's the peloton chasing, more or less regrouping now on the chasers. Fondriest refusing to give up his #1 from last year and doing it more than justice as he leads the chase down. Giorgio braking very hard, leaning almost so close to that wall he almost took the skin off his elbow. Furlan turned professional only in 1990, and until this year, when he's won quite a few races already, he's won 11. And the first he'll remember when he became the champion of Italy, before he was even a real champion as far as the Italians were concerned. But he's coming through well now, and he's desperately trying to improve on his 6th place finish of a year ago and all the carnage that followed there. Finished his season off with flying colours, the last classic of the year, the Tour of Lombardy in Italy. He was second in that, and I don't think anybody now is going to stop him starting the new spring season here with a first in Italy again. And the remnants of that chase seem to have absorbed back into that group. These are desperate moments, and he has no intention of checking out where the rest of the riders are. But it should be enough. This is the sight he wanted, where you leave the Poggio and now you run down to the Via Roma to the finish. And a big classic victory is his at last. He won the Flesh Wallon in 1992, and we were there on that occasion. It was a great victory, but he will see this as his finest win. And he'll be the leader of the World Cup as well as we move on to the Tour of Flanders, of course, Paris-Roubaix, and then right through the Spring Classics. And you can hear the crowd already cheering as they see the sweat-furrowed brow there of Giorgio Furlan. We're going back there because David Cassani is still on the attack coming down the mountain. But the gap is big enough, and again an Italian is winning at home here in Milan-San Remo, and a new team as well. 20 seconds, that will do nicely, I think. They won't pull him back now. There's the long view as we head up towards the line, and we can have a look back too, and there's nobody in that straight, and if they are, they're right down in the distance. Giorgio Furlan has won this race. Just 28 years of age. Furlan celebrates his birthday in March as well. but it was before this race took place under the kilometre kite. And at the last moment he now affords himself a glance over his shoulder, half a mile to the finish, and he knows now he's going to win Milan-San Remo, the 85th running of the event. And again we're being treated to a lone victory. Well, we should be treated to quite a sprint for second place. Remember that Cipollini and Baffy are both in that big sprint for the Mercatone Uno team. We saw how they tried to keep that race together without success, because up towards the finish now, back to this great finish here in the Via Roma after the carnage of a year ago. And coming up the home straight, Giorgio Furlan is going to take the flag, and a much more orderly approach indeed. And nobody is going to stop him. It's always the greatest moment of a long, long day in the saddle when you know you're not going to be caught now. Zipping up the racing jersey so we can expect the two-arm salute to follow. As he just makes sure, as Fondriest did a year ago. Boy, is he excited now. Yes, thank you. He says, this is the big one for me, and I've done it. And a great round of applause over the line. The gap was a big one in the end. He took his chance well. Now the big sprint for second place. And expect to see now the Mercatone Uno riders. And they're right there. And there comes Cipollini on the far right of a picture. And Baffy is here as well. And it's going to be shoulder to shoulder here. Baffy and Cipollini as they come to the line together. And they take it. Adriano Baffy, in fact, is the rider who's finished just behind Cipollini. And Stefano Zanini of the Navigar team was there in fourth place. But they were all too late, the sprinters, because it was a win for Giorgio Furlan of Italy. And because it's the first World Cup event of the season, there you have it. The World Cup jersey off the shoulders of last year's winner Maurizio Fondriest, and onto the shoulders of the man who has won the first Classic of the spring in Italy. And there's no better time to be an Italian. There's the result, 7 hours 5 minutes. What a fast race it was today, beating the sprinters Cipollini, Baffy, Zanini. Kai Hundertmarkt of Germany finishing 5th for Team Motorola, and he was once 5th too in the World Championships in his first year as a professional. I'm sure he'll improve on that as this season unfolds. So as we say goodbye finally to the coast here at San Remo, let me remind you, more races coming up, including the Giro d'Italia on Famous Cycling Videos later in the year. Until then, I'm Phil Liggett saying goodbye.